This is Record Royale, where we throw two albums into the ring with one another and see which one comes out on top. What a high we're coming off after last week's episode with Trophy Arts frontman John Florani. Easily one of my favourite episodes, personally.
Yeah, it was great too.
Yeah, it was good, eh? And now, a week later, we get to chat with Kav Temperley from Eskimo Joe. Are you kidding me? Seriously? Come on. Seriously?
Where's our invite to the Arias next year already?
Hey,
We are the industry.
Yeah,
Imagine.
we are. But yeah, it's been a good couple of weeks. It's a good one today. Before we get into it, quick turnaround for us recording-wise, not episode release-wise. So it's only been a few days. But in the past few days, I have COVID now. I've been struck down with the spicy cough. It's sent me for 6, to be honest. I've actually been crook as hell.
That's not good.
Any vomiting or just like, nah?
Nah, like, a bit nauseous, but just like the sweats and recording the pod, just like all-time sweats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's muggy.
Yeah, that doesn't help. And just, but it could be worse. Could be way worse. So it's not that bad. I've had lots of time to watch TV shows and play cricket 2022 on the PlayStation.
What's on the telly at the moment for you?
Okay, I've actually a few shows. Been watching Ozark. Have you watched that?
Oh no, but I've heard a few people have told me to watch that. Now.
Yeah, I only just started it. Like I'm late to it, but it's hectic. It's good,
Nice.
Real good. Recommend. Daredevil, the Marvel Netflix show.
It's quite violent.
So graphic. Yeah, very gory, but it's cool.
How do you go watching two shows at once? You just get over one, just flick on the other, or?
Pretty much. I mean, legit. Past couple of days, I've just been on the lounge. So I'm like,
I can't do that. I have to be on one singular, and it takes me forever to pick it.
Yeah, really. I'm normally like that, but with these like hour-long episode shows, I can't watch like more than 2 in one sitting. So
have you seen Mr. In Between?
No, that's my dad's favorite show, but I haven't watched that.
Unbelievably good. It was also my parents' favorite show, and I just didn't want to watch it, and then stayed in Orange for like a weekend, and they watched it. The 20-minute episodes, very violent, very Australian. Just you can smash the whole thing in a day. It's so easy, but also like you're nervous and tense. It's brilliant, really good.
People say that's like the best Australian TV show ever.
I would say it'd have to be. I was reading I kind of was it sounds horrible, but I'm usually just not into a lot of Australian shows.
Me too.
For whatever reason. But it's not cringy in any way. Very good depiction, I would say, a very real depiction of Sydney, like what it actually feels like to be there. And yeah, New York Times gave it like one of the best shows of 2020, which is psycho.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Really good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, so Ozark, Daredevil, and then of course I've been rewatching The Office as well.
Yet again.
Just like the easiest show of all time. What have you guys been doing? Any news?
Not a heap, to be honest.
New music? Any new music you've been listening to?
Good Lecker's new track came out a couple days, Belligerent. It's a freaking banger again.
Slaps.
Friends of the pod?
Good friends of the pod. They're going to be big.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Good dance track. Good dance tracks.
Great dance track.
Be good when they can actually play shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool. Speaking of new music / Spotify, everyone's heard about it. How Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, I'm sure there's a few others have removed their music from Spotify over the Joe Rogan podcast misinformation spreading. But I don't know if you saw this, but Rivers Cuomo from Weezer has released an app called Weezerfy, where there's like over 3,000 demos on there.
Whoa.
And I don't think it was like in response to this Spotify news. I think he's been working on it for like a year. So you can download it. It costs money. It's like $13 something, but you get 3,000 Rivers demos, and it's called Weezerfy.
That's worth. I would do that.
Holy
I might
shit.
do that.
What? Yeah. Perfect timing, eh?
Yeah. I don't know whether they were waiting for that, but yeah. So Weezerfy.
I think it's kind of great that it's all coming out, because Spotify has just been. I mean, I don't want to rip on them too hard, because that's where our podcast is probably most listened to on. But
yeah,
they do just rip off artists, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then gave old mate Joe Rogan $100 million to do a podcast.
Yeah.
It's quite not fair, I would say.
No.
Really?
No.
But,
evil.
It's a
It
bit
is kind of
shit.
evil. It's a bit Doctor Evil-ish, I would say, a little bit.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Dr. Evil's funny.
Yeah, but I'm sure.
just
I mean,
funny.
it's probably all of the streaming servers are the same.
Yeah, well, they are. They are the same. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, isn't it? 'Cause they'd make
Crazy.
they'd...
Did you see what James Blunt said?
yeah.
He's just trying to get himself back in the news, honestly.
He always
trying to
does.
stay relevant.
Whenever something happens, James Blunt's got a headline, and it's always making fun of himself.
Yeah. No, he's funny. He's legit funny.
He
The
is quite
For the
funny,
people
yeah.
that didn't see what he said, if they don't remove Joe Rogan, I threat. What did he say? He'll release new music instead of taking his music off Spotify.
That's funny.
That is funny. No, he's good. I see his tweets pop up every now and then. They're good. Good shit. Good Twitter follow. I don't follow him, but he might be if you're into that kind of shit. All right, let's talk some Manscaped. Manscaped shit.
Let's do it.
It's it's February. We're well into February now. Next week is Valentine's Day. And I tell you what you don't want on Valentine's Day. Hairy sack.
Just put it out there.
Yeah, you don't. You're right.
No, you
really
don't.
brings the mood down.
And I'll tell you what you need. The Signature Lawnmower 4.0, part of the Performance Package 4.0, Manscaped have brought out. You simply need it, lads. You simply need it, ladies who listen to the pod. Get your man the pack. You got
I've
it right
got mine
there?
right here.
Are you ready to go? You going to give us
Let's
the
go.
demo?
Doing it on pod?
You hear that? Listen
I
to
don't know
that.
if you're allowed to do that, Brad. You
Yeah.
have a go. I
Yeah.
mean, it's only
Here
audio.
we go, live action. Bang.
You getting
That
some
was just
face?
on the
Seeing it
face,
there.
though. We got to keep it PG.
Getting some
One of its
face
greatest
action.
features is the light.
Yeah, it's good, eh?
It is.
Good. Mm.
Anyway,
For sure.
Yes,
I
but
agree.
inside the Performance
Really do
Package
like.
4.0, you'll find the Signature Lawnmower, which we have. It rocks our socks and nuts. Electric trimmer, designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced SkinScape technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate nuts. Also comes equipped with a 4K LED spotlight, which we just talked about. That's bright enough to shine a light to your true love this year. That's right, Valentine's Day. Shit.
That's good.
It is good. I like this stuff. Yeah, but you can get 20% off, free shipping with code Royale at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code Royale. Help tame that love jungle you have in your pants with Manscaped. Fuck, man. They just have lines after lines. I love it. All right, we're going to get into the chat with Kav Temperley from Eskimo Joe. That is right. Kav Temperley from Eskimo
Bang.
Joe. I might just say that one
It's
more
him.
time. Kav Temperley from Eskimo Joe is on the show
that's my
today.
bloody Joe.
Yeah. Yeah. Insane shit. Here it is. Enjoy. All right, without a doubt, the most esteemed guest we've had the pleasure of having on the show. Several ARIA wins, handful of Hottest 100 placings, a plethora of legitimate big-time Aussie hits. It's truly awesome to say we have Kav Temperley from Eskimo Joe on the show today. Here he is. Kav, thanks for joining us, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. How are you, first of all?
I'm good. I'm here in the hermit kingdom of Western Australia, avoiding most COVID-related problems. So that's always nice.
Beautiful.
And unfortunately, the borders are still closed, so I can't leave and do anything. But yes, that's pretty much where I'm at in a holding pattern for the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's you're actually the second WA resident we've had on the show the past 3 weeks, and I know you guys have a tour coming up in Eskimo Joe, that is, in March and April. Are you going to what's the news on that? Are you able to leave the state?
I don't know. I mean, I can't really comment on if it's going ahead or not. I don't really know at the moment. We're just waiting to hear news. But the tour itself is I don't want to sell it too ridiculously, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. See us play our albums, A Song Is a City and Black Fingernails Red Wine back to back in full. So for a lot of fans, they're like our kind of, our magna opus or whatever you call it. They're important albums. Like A Song Is a City is an important album, I think, emotionally for people. Like a lot of people got into that and took it into their lives as an important, soundtrack to their lives. And then Black Fingernails Red Wine was that record that, everyone bought 1 or 2 copies of. So
Yeah.
So it's a really important record for us commercially, but also, it's got the hits on it as well. So, and when we put records together, we take record making really seriously. So we think about the gaps between the songs. If you listen to our records, there's, the first couple of songs, like, we're such nerds. They all just kind of like, they blend into each other, and, like a guitar will tune down and then go into this, the next song. It's like, we're just complete nerds. So we get really excited by that stuff. And for us, it's exciting to be able to play all of that stuff that we put so much time and thought into as a live show, because you don't really get to do that often, and maybe never again. Who knows? Yeah.
Well, that's one thing that I've noticed, especially doing this podcast from listening to so many albums. It's like, I just appreciate when bands or artists do that, when they do put effort into like the flow of an album. And you guys have like one band that do that all the time. I've always just loved that. Yeah, that's sick though. Well, hopefully that tour can go ahead. I mean, still a couple of months away.
It'll go ahead one way or another. I can't comment on the dates that we've got booked in, but it's definitely happening. So yeah.
There are many songs in that set that you haven't played in a long time that you've kind of omitted and now have to relearn properly.
Most of the set, I think.
Yeah.
There's songs on that record that like, especially like maybe a Song of the City and Black Fingernails we've never played live before. So so it's exciting to give it a red hot shot. I'm sure we're going to get into the rehearsal room and be like, how does this song go? We did one on an album, and that was about 20 years ago now. So
jog the memory.
Yeah, nice.
Wow,
cool. We were just speaking about before, but you've been working on some new solo music. What can we hear about that? When can we expect some new releases?
Well, today I'm going into a film studio to do a video clip for the lead single, which is going to be the title track for the record, called Machines of Love and Grace. Ooh. And the whole album is, kind of a commentary on what we've been through in the last 2 years, which is this. I mean, look what we're doing now. We're having a conversation through Zoom, but we have, we've got these little phones, and we conduct the most intimate relationships through the phone. Like, everyone's like having dinner with their family in other states or countries on FaceTime, or going to sleep next to a loved one with their phone on. And, and within the phone as well, it doesn't just do that. It's like, you can gamble on these things. You can watch pornography, it's about, and our ability to stop ourselves from clicking Instagram before we realize, is not very good. So I've kind of written a record about, our experience of the intimacy that we experience through our phones, and not really trying to answer any questions, but just kind of, just putting the question out there, what is this doing to us? Where are we?
Oh, I like that. I like that it's not completely negative either, that you're looking at, there are some good things. Obviously, it's been pretty important the last 2 years, and everyone would be a hell of a lot more isolated if they didn't have that sort of connection. But then obviously there are the incredibly big downsides to it as well.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Awesome. I wanted to bring up, so last year you guys were lucky enough to play the AFL Grand Final in the home state. Where does that rank on your career accomplishments? Holy fuck! Holy shit! I can't speak.
Accomplishment.
Against, and also ranked against specifically being a guest on Spicks and Specs.
Well, Spicks and Specs was pretty exciting because they did this lineup. I remember where they got. It was kind of confronting, but they got everyone to stand. They got the contestants to stand everybody in a line to see where they think the longest charting band was, and everyone put Old Mate from the Wiggles up the front, because everyone's like, it's the Wiggles, man. They're the biggest band Australia's ever produced. And then we all had to stand in a line, and I was kind of somewhere towards the back. But it turned out that Black Fingernails had stayed in the charts for like 52 weeks or something like that. It was longer than everyone. I was like, yes. But so that was exciting. But the grand final was, I think, I don't know if you guys have watched that movie Whiplash.
Yeah.
Which is, it's incredible, like hard to watch twice, but very good. There's one scene in that movie that really speaks to all musicians, which is, you go home for a family dinner, and you're doing something really important musically, you're like, oh, actually, I've just released this record, and it got a critical write-up by this amazing writer, and that's a career highlight for me in a critical sense. But your cousins over here are some kind of amateur sports players, and everyone just wants to hear about their amateur sports match that they played.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake, guys,
Yeah.
One of the great things about playing a grand final is it's the one time that everyone recognizes that you play in a band for the first time. And it's a good thing. Like, all of Australia goes, how good is Australian music, or how good is music? Because they all pay attention to the grand final performance, and in that it's a really a high accolade to be able to get to play it, but also like a sphincter clenching moment, because you got to get out there and you got to nail it, man. You don't want to be known as one of the bad grand final performances, because people remember that stuff, So we enjoyed the moment. We were lucky enough in our career up to that point to have played some big shows before. So we got to go on there and go, you know what? Let's just enjoy this moment, because A, the grand final is never going to be in Western Australia ever again. And B, we probably won't get to play another grand final. So let's just really be in the moment. And I just lived my best stadium rock dream, and everyone for the next 3 weeks, every time I went to the supermarket, were like high-fiving me and stuff, because I don't pay attention to music unless it's involved with sport.
Yeah. That's
Nice.
Yeah, right. Was it really hard to hear, like with the foldbacks and stuff? You had your own foldbacks, but obviously, like with the massive speakers out in the stadium, was there a bit of like difference in sound, or do you just have to?
It's a good question. Generally, what we do now, and we've done this for years now, is we use these things called in-ear monitors. They're like molded to your ears, and you literally only hear what's mixed into your ear. But if you don't have them,
brilliant.
You have this kind of latency in the stadium. You're hearing everything 2 seconds later than it actually happens. So I don't know how people do it without foldback, whether they train out the in-ears or whether they just train themselves to do it. But to answer your question, it sounded great.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, that's good. I'm glad, because that would have been tough if you didn't.
That's
have
awesome.
that.
Only.
In saying that, there was one really scary moment. So I decided that I was like, hell yeah, I'm just going to grab this microphone and make a run for it. So I ran from my little gold podium all the way up to the boundary line. I was like having my thoughts moment. But there was this one moment where there was obviously like a transmitting black spot in the stadium, where I ran, and my pack, which my receiver, which is where I get all my fallback from, cut out for a moment, and I was just like, "Oh no, don't lose your place in the song." And then I made it back, and nothing went horribly wrong. But I had that moment where I was like, "This could go bad."
Oh, Jesus Christ! I was gonna say, that's awesome though. Almost 25 years being a band, and finally your cousins appreciate what you do. playing footy game. Hectic. So the two albums we're doing, Dusty Springfield and Spoon, what was the thinking behind choosing these records?
Well, I guess, if someone says, you talk about two albums, you think about, albums that you love, and I guess that you've bought more than one copy of. And, and I also tried to kind of do a slight linkage going in. When I rebought Dusty In Memphis for like the third time or whatever, I bought it on CD, and it was a reissue. Like, they'd remastered it, and there was a intro, and it was written by Elvis Costello, and it was really illuminating, because Elvis Costello is such an interesting, intelligent character, but he was writing about the process that they all went through as a team to make that record, and what the critical response was and everything. But he just did it in a very intelligent, kind of through an artist's eyes way, which was great. And then, Spoon, who's a band who I discovered kind of halfway through writing the album Black Fingernails, Red Wine. I think I discovered it when in the middle of writing A Song As a City, but I was really obsessed with Wilco at the time. So I was like, oh no, forget it. It's all about Wilco.
Yeah.
And finally I gave it I think a girlfriend at the time was just like, you should listen to this record. And I was like, oh, whatever. No, it's all about Wilco. And then I finally got into the record, and, and Spoon became one of my favorite bands of all time, because aesthetically it's just kind of timeless music. It always sounds modern, but they kind of have this classic feel and minimalist kind of feel to what they do. and it's very Elvis Costello. There's no doubt that Britt Daniels is not inspired vocally and songwriting wise by Elvis Costello. So that's kind of my vague, link between the two. But what I should have done is, I'm actually a huge Led Zeppelin fan, and I should have picked the Led Zeppelin album because when they were in the studio in Memphis recording Dusty in Memphis, she'd just signed to Atlantic Records. This was going to be her album that was going to revive her career because she'd had about 5 albums out, and then she signed to Atlantic. And one of the things about signing to Atlantic is back in the day is, a record company would have their staple of producers who just worked for that one label. And of course, Atlantic had Aretha Franklin. Jerry Wexler was the producer, and he produced all these amazing records.
Yeah.
That she was like, okay, I'll sign to Atlantic if I get to work with Jerry Wexler. And they were like, okay. So they sat down and they started to, put all these, a list of songs together that were basically pop songs, but they wanted to record in this Southern soul style. Anyway, they made it to the studio, and she was like, oh, you should check out my friend John Paul's band. He backed me up. They're called Led Zeppelin. And so they were like, they hadn't even heard them, so they just literally signed them on the back of Dusty Springfield saying, yeah, these guys are great. And then, of course, Led Zeppelin went on to become Led Zeppelin. So maybe I should have done Led Zeppelin and Dusty.
No, this is great. Good matchup, I think.
But I love both records, and I think I picked them on, if you were going to be stuck in a car driving for a long period of time and there was only a CD player in the car and you had 2 CDs, I'd probably pick, Dusty in Memphis and Kill the Moonlight by Spoon.
Perfect.
Man. All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to run through some of the facts. Some of them have already been said, which is cool, and then we'll get chatting about the albums. So, Mary Isabel Catherine Bernadette O'Brien, a.k.a. Dusty Springfield, from the UK. Her career spanned over 5 decades and was one of the most successful performers, both in the UK and the US. This was her 5th studio album, released on January 18th, 1969 by Atlantic Records. So I think that makes it the oldest album we've done, actually. I think it just clips Let It Be by the Beatles.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. It was produced by, 3 people who worked on this album. So Jerry Wexler, as you mentioned, Kav.
He was the engineer, which was, important, but
yeah, and then Arif Mardin, I believe is how you pronounce it. But yeah, Jerry Wexler. Apparently, he coined the term rhythm and blues.
He would have too. He is an absolute legend, Jerry Wexler. If you look at his, rap sheet of all the records he's recorded, it's just phenomenal. And there's a reason why Dusty wanted to work with him, because he was like, he really was that guy who took what was considered black music, I guess, at the time, and presented it to white people, in a way that was digestible, So he was an important character, because the white people, you still had white radio and black radio back in those days, which is just fucking ridiculous. But he was the guy who kind of, basically, made a bridge between those two places, which is...
Yeah, just some of the people he worked with. Ray Charles, Led Zeppelin, Dire Straits, Bob Dylan, and then Dusty Springfield, obviously. And he was inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So, not bad. And then Arif worked with Queen, Bee Gees, Hall & Oates, Aretha Franklin, Phil Collins, and then Tom Dowd's worked on records from Eric Clapton, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Willie Nelson, the Eagles. So, pretty good little team working on this album.
Solid team.
Upon release, apparently it did pretty poorly commercially. I think
that's another reason why I picked this album, because it's important, where we're at in music. If you look back at records like this that came out, this was meant to revive her career, but it actually did the opposite. It completely stalled it, because she was this, horrendously nervous, probably alcoholic, because she would rock up to the studio every day in a full set of makeup. Yeah. And everyone, which is kind of normal now, funnily enough. But in those days, she was clearly, she was gay as well. And, probably illegal in most parts of the world to be gay at that point in time. And she was English in America doing this, R&B record. So she'd rock up super, super nervous. And then I think when the record, they were all pretty happy with it, because it came out and they were like, well, this is great. This is going to be amazing. And then it did nothing. But it just built, because it was such quality work, it just built and built, and everyone started to buy it in like secondhand shops and all these kinds of things. And so by the time we got to like the year 2000, it was a bona fide classic. Like everyone was like, this is one of the greatest albums of all time. But at the time, can you imagine being that artist where you're just so like, you know, ready to break at any moment, and they're like, oh yeah, this record that you've, you know, pinned your whole entire career on and had all the best people in the world work on has failed. You'd be like, oh, you know what I mean? And it did, and it was like she didn't really recover from that record. And even like there's interviews with all the musicians, and they talk about her coming into the studio and her being, because she didn't actually sing any of her vocals in Memphis, even though it's Dusty in Memphis. Every day they would be like, okay, Dusty, it's time to do your vocals, and she'd come in her full makeup and everything, and she just couldn't do it. And they eventually, Jerry Wexler eventually kind of coaxed her in front of a microphone at the Atlantic Studios in New York, and she was still like, one of the things he was talked about is they were really scared that there was going to be lots of spill coming from her headphones, because she sung really quietly and they kept turning it up. She was like, no, I want it louder and louder and louder. But if you listen to the recording, she's got this kind of breathy delivery that is probably because of how she did it. But apparently they got the vocals recorded at the 11th hour. She was just so nervous she didn't want to step in, because all they were all amazing musicians that she was working with. And I think she, like most musicians, I can say this for myself as well, most of the time we feel like a hack. You know, you feel like any moment someone's going to realize I'm useless. Yeah. So most musicians are working twice as hard to try and prove to people that they're not. And I think she's a really good example of that. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't think she really recovered from the failure.
No. That's crazy. Yeah, because in 2001, the album was inducted to the Grammy Hall of Fame. So what's that, 40 years on, 30 years on. So yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have like an ongoing thing on this podcast where every time the Rolling Stone magazine mention an album in like its best 5,000 albums of all time, we have to mention it. The Rolling Stone magazine's 83rd best album of all time.
Is that our furthest up?
It probably have to be, eh? Yeah.
Or maybe the Beatles would be a bit further up.
Yeah, maybe let it be. Yeah, it's usually like 700th and third, and it's like, how'd you get that number?
Don't know how they've come up with that number.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty high up, 83rd. Yeah. All right, still got for Dusty. Spoon, they formed in Austin, Texas in 93. At the time of this album release, the band was Britt Daniel, vocals, guitar, Jim Eno on the drums, and Joshua Zabo on the bass. This is their fourth studio album, released on the 20th of August 2002, so coming up on 20 years, by Merge Records. They've put out stuff from Dinosaur Jr., Arcade Fire, to name a couple. It's produced by the band themselves and Mike McCarthy. I'm not sure of like the official singles, but I'm assuming The Way We Get By would have had to been one.
It was Jonathan Fisk, I think, had a video clip to it.
Right.
Yeah. But it's one of those, you know, like Dusty in Memphis, it's one of those albums where there's not a bad track on it. You know, and even as the years go by, I don't ever go back to it and go, oh, you know what? You know, in the light of day, this is the shit song on the record. The whole album is just solid, and it's what I love about it is it's like, I grew up when I was first writing songs using a 4-track recorder, which is, you know, with like a little tape machine, and you know, there's what the Beatles used, but they used a much bigger version. And tape is one of those things where you've got left and right, and then all a 4-track recorder does is it turns the left into 2 left tracks and the right into 2 right tracks. So each time you have to record, like, so track 1 and 2 is left, so you got to like pan it all the way left when you record it, you know, otherwise it spills onto the right track. It's like really just like physical stuff. And Britt Daniels obviously was a big 4-track user, because I think a lot of the sounds and stuff on the record is like, you know, he's got this like beatbox thing going on one of the tracks, and I think a lot of this stuff, it just sounds like he's recorded on a 4-track and gone, let's just use this sounds rad. And also the reason why I think is also a bit of a 4-track vibe going on is they do some similar stuff that you'll hear on early Beatles records when they first went stereo. So there's like drums will be panned hard left, and you know, the vocals and guitar will be panned hard right, you know, and that stuff they did because they didn't really know how to use stereo. but when you listen to, stuff like Kill the Moonlight, they're clearly, doing a tip of the hat to, I mean, it's, you only do what you know. And clearly, as a musician growing up, he would have listened to the Beatles and be like, cool, that's what you do. Let's pan everything hard left, But when we were touring, because we were such huge Spoon fans, well, it was mainly me. I was Spoon tragic. We actually went to we met Mike McCarthy, who, was one of the people who produced this record, and we went to his studio and had a look around where they, recorded it, and which was pretty exciting for us. But Jim Eno, who's the drummer in the band, is, I think if you look at Spoon, you kind of got Britt Daniels, who's like the creative songwriting driving force, and then you've got Jim Eno, who I love his style of drumming, but he's also a producer and engineer in his own right. And he worked on lots of stuff like that Fear of Fun, the Father John Misty record, and he's Jim Eno's all over it. He's a really important character in the Spoon thing. I think even Britt Daniels obviously gets a lot of attention, but I think there is a fingerprint in anything that Britt Daniels does or works on that just sounds like him. So anyway, so go on with the facts.
I only got two more, and I want to bring up our good friends Rolling Stone magazine. Okay. Again, their 51st best album of the 2000s. This one, and then it was Pitchfork's 19th best album of the 2000s, and turn two record. That's pretty hectic. That's all I got for the facts, actually. So we can get into the elements. Continuing on from that little Jim Eno, the drummer. I actually there's a lack of drums overall in this record. Or what I'm imagining, overall beats. There's a lot of songs with very light drumming or no drumming at all, and it honestly makes the songs and the sounds coming from the synth and the guitars so much more interesting. I just think his voice shines when there's not as much drumming
very
going on.
British. He sounds for an American, he sounds like Elvis Costello or anyone from the Clash. It's very Clash, and it sounds like he's singing through his nose the whole entire time like this. The minimalism in the drums, and that's why I think Jim Eno is a great drummer, is because I really think a good musician is all about what they don't play, and that this record is really just it's got that all over it. When the drums do stuff, you pay attention, but it's not just the whole time. It's very orchestrated, and it's actually really hard to do that. It's easier just to cover everything with stuff, and just and then go, cool, that's done. But to actually kind of pull stuff away and go, cool, I'm going to just have a clap and a tambourine and then a kick drum, and then that's going to, it's all very orchestrated. And I think that's what I still appreciate about the record is even though it's not what you would typically call an orchestrated album, because when we say stuff like that, you think about string sections and this is not that. It's it's very orchestrated, but it's just very minimalist, and it's all about the rhythms.
Yeah, because in the opener, Small Stakes, I was just waiting for the drums to kick in. They never did, and I was like, that song's awesome.
That's boom, wait, and then it's got the big kind of room sound drum solo. I think everything about the aesthetics of this record is what appealed to me when I was younger. It was I think we'd in the early 2000s, we were just coming out of this super high fidelity 90s, early 2000s, where everything sounded very excited. We'd kind of reached a bit of an apex of how good we could make things sound as far as crystal clear recording. And these guys were really doing the opposite of that. They were just putting distortion over everything. And I appreciate that. When I produce people's records, I'm always I hope you guys don't mind, but I put distortion on everything. It just sounds better. I'm and I think, these guys probably inspired me to do that. Or maybe they let me know that it was okay. What you're doing with distortion is the right thing.
I think a lot of bands followed that too, all the way through the 2000s and even into the 2010s. I think it's probably changed a bit back now, whereas everything's now just sounding huge again. But for a solid 20 years, everything was pretty minimalist. Think about the Strokes and even the Arctic Monkeys to start, and all those other bands that just
the White Stripes as well.
White Stripes, sure. It all kind of followed that way more lo-fi and focusing on the songs rather than the everything else. The gimmicks.
Also harking back to this idea that things sounding pristine is not always good. That's not how we hear it when we go to a concert. The speakers are distorting a little bit, and you're at the back of the room and things are bouncing around, and it's undeniable. And I think we can appreciate it more than ever in this kind of pandemic that we're going through. Like, there is nothing that can replace being at a live concert and just being, transported from this moment in time. And a lot of that is the fact that it does, you want it to sound good and you want the band to play good, but you're like, you don't, it doesn't sound pristine. It's always a little bit futzed out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that there was an era of, and like Jack White is such a great poster child for this, of like, things sounding just a bit shit, and that's better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it builds tension a lot. For sure, all the way through it. Are you a fan of Cloud Nothings at all?
No, but I'll have to write that down now.
Yeah, we've done them a few times on the pod, and I got their vibe.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's very true, especially the vocal delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of building tension the whole time. There's probably Cloud Nothings less minimalist. They've got a fair bit more drumming, more traditional as far as that goes. But yeah, I think especially you definitely like all your focus is going to the vocals a lot of the time. Which is really what you want with this sort of music.
I think so. I mean, the Spoon are a great example of this, but really, if you press play on a record, most people will only hear the drums and the vocals, and then they'll start to, investigate what else is going on, and Spoon really just kind of boiled that right down. The other thing that's important about Kill the Moonlight and Spoon in general is their use of piano, and more so upright piano. Like, things will be playing and then it's just like this really kind of ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
But they make it sound like a band in a room, but it's still modern and cool. But yeah, the way that they use upright piano is definitely plays into that kind of rhythmic thing still as well.
For sure.
I think like the simplicity of it makes like the flow of the album just so clean. Like every song just runs together so well, and you can really like starting from the start, and then you finish the album, you're like, oh shit, it's done. Like, like it's such a nice ride.
We did this. We mixed Songs of the City, our second album, with amazing producer in his own right, and he really brought. He's probably the reason why Songs of the City sounded so complete, because we kind of took the sessions home and re-recorded as many things as we possibly could in our home recording setup, and then got into the studio, and one of the songs, I'm So Tired, was the last song we recorded, and we hadn't recorded any drums properly for it, so I was like, I know what to do, and I just got the microphone and just recorded this like which was totally ripping off Spoon. And the producer, he's a big cat. He's like gone off and done all these humongous records, but he was just like, I remember overhearing him in a conversation. It was like, oh, and then the lead singer sat down. He just did this beatbox over the top, and it was amazing. Like I don't know where he thought of that.
Not a Spoon.
Brilliant. Adam, you found a bit of similarity as well.
Yeah, actually.
Crazy.
Yeah. With Let It Happen. What was the song?
Someone
Something. There's a part like towards the end, and like obviously Let It Happen by Tame Impala, one of the biggest songs ever. It's exactly the same rhythm, chords, and key.
I would say Kev would undoubtedly be a Spoon fan, though.
I'm sure it was unintentional, but I couldn't. The similarity is crazy.
I mean, the thing is, as well, is like a lot of what Spoon do is very Beatles, and a particular era of Beatles, like they're like Revolver, Rubber Soul, like that's kind of what the Beatles are doing, and even like again with the hard panning of drums and everything, the tambourine coming in and out. It really, if you held a gun to Britt Daniels' head, it was like, it was Revolver.
It was Revolver. Yeah, that's it. It all goes back to Beatles.
That is really where the main influences come on, and that's probably why in Eskies we love that record so much, because we're such huge Beatles fans. But also, talk to Kev from Tame Impala, he'll 100% will be like, oh, what inspired you to this? He's like, I only listen to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like, I only listen to Rubber Soul and Revolver. That's
Definitely.
literally all he. I mean, that's what he did for years. So, it's highly likely that Britt Daniels ripped off Rubber Soul, Revolver, and that's
true.
The same thing that Kev ripped off. So yeah, going back to the source every time.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. I think everyone's ripping off someone nowadays.
It all starts with the Beatles.
As long as you do it properly,
yeah, everything goes back to the Beatles. We all know this by now. Where Cav, where did you first like discover the Dusty album? Was that like something you grew up with, or?
Good question. No, I'm pretty sure what happened is, around about I think funnily enough, both albums, Dusty in Memphis and Kill the Moonlight, I think I got into them around about the same time, and it was probably like after recording our first record. And I'm always interested in listening to new music all the time, whether it came out yesterday or 30 years ago. I think going into writing A Songs of the City, like the blinkers were coming off more and more. I was just kind of looking for more and more stuff, and there was two albums that were really important to me that I discovered about the same time, around about 2003, I guess, 2002. And that was Carole King's Tapestry and Dusty in Memphis. And funnily enough, of course, Carole King and Jerry Goffin, I write at least one of the tracks on Dusty in Memphis. They do the, just a little lovin' in the morning, which is the most ridiculous fucking chord progression of all time for a pop song. But yeah, so those two albums kind of popped up at the same time. And I think it was like a conversation myself and Katie Steele from Little Birdie were having, because we had a really good posse of musicians. There was there was us, Little Birdie kind of formed in our jam room around about this time, and then there was Sleepy Jackson and End of Fashion and a bunch of other bands. We're all just kind of jamming out of the same room, and everyone was sharing their favorite albums. And at some point in time, these two records came up, and I think Katie might have even suggested both of them. But she definitely suggested Carole King Tapestry. No, I think I suggested Dusty in Memphis, and she suggested Tapestry. I'm not sure, but we both were like, "You need to listen to this record," and I don't think either of us regretted it, because I own both those albums on vinyl now. I'm a vinyl head these days, and they both just sound great. Hit after hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like we spoke about the aesthetic of the Spoon album, but I like the aesthetic of this Dusty album is so good as well. Like there's so much soul, like it legit oozes out of like everything, like her voice, but also the instruments, like the strings, they sound so good. Like the rattling, like of the drum kit in some songs, and the backing vocals, it's just so cool. Like overall,
if you're talking about arrangements and drum arrangements and everything, like with Dusty Memphis, it's such a beautifully arranged album as far as every kick beat, like
perfect. Yeah,
the song "Breakfast in Bed," which incidentally was written by the guitarist in the session band. That's kind of one of the outliers. I reckon a lot of the other songs are these kind of classic brill building New York, LA songwriters. But yeah, Breakfast in Bed was written by the session guitarist in the band. And if you listen to the drums in that, it's like there is, as a songwriter and anyone who's interested in production, there is so much to take out of it, because it's like the drum is, where the kick drum falls and what it does is just as much of a hook as what the vocals are doing, or what little bass run's doing over here. Everything is like, it's back in the day that they approached everything as like an orchestral arrangement. They literally probably would have written a lot of it out and go, here, go play this. So everything's very orchestrated. It's not like that Spoon experience of a bunch of people getting into a jam room with a 4-track recorder and just hitting it until it works. This is all very considered, and again, I just feel like you can take so many ideas and production ideas from the orchestration of all of the instruments.
Yeah,
well said.
It's very it's just so luscious. It's also kind of I think with it all being so grand, the instrumentation a lot of the time, and then as you said before, her voice is kind of, definitely like softer, but also sultry, I would say, but also kind of menacing at points. Like it kind of gives you that eerie feeling sometimes, like the hairs on the back of your neck sort of thing, which is great, and probably why Quentin Tarantino wanted it so much, I would say.
One of the other things about this record, which it keeps hanging around, is that my wife, she was married to, when she was a nun, and her husband was, my wife's mum was a nun, and her future husband was a priest, and they left the the order or whatever you do
whoa.
to get married and have babies. And so every time I play "Son of a Preacher Man," my wife's mum, who she was a dance teacher and stuff back in the day, and so even though she's 80, she still does her like 80s style, her 60s style dance.
Oh, nice.
But we always put on "Son of a Preacher Man." She's just like. And she says the same story every time. She's like, "Oh, Andrew, that was him. He was the son of a preacher man." So it goes on. And the other favorite thing in my house is I'm like, "Kids, what song's this sample?" And they're like, "Oh, it's Hits from the Bong." I'm like,
That's crazy.
"No," but Cypress Hill sampled it for Hits from the Bong.
Yeah.
There you
So,
go. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
I was gonna say this is like the most sampleable album.
Yeah, the whole album is so sampleable.
90s
Yeah.
hip-hop would love it.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm a big Adele fan, and I thought I saw lots of parallels from this, especially from that new album.
Yeah.
I would say the word is evocative. What does evocative mean? Is that like strong imagery or like memories?
It evokes.
Yeah,
yes.
I would say that like I get a lot of that from old Adele song, and I imagine people would feel the same way about these sorts of songs as well. Like,
Yeah, I think Adele is like, she is totally the modern Dusty Springfield in the fact that she's like this English artist who is, doing American soul music really, but can sing, like nothing else. But one of the things that is different in the era is that, Adele is highly attuned to the idea that if you want to make money, you need to have written the songs as well. So she always got a hand in the songwriting, which is an important modern thing. Whereas what was so special about, Dusty in Memphis is there was no like, oh, I'm going to try and write some songs. She was like, let's listen to demos and pick the 11 best songs and make that into a record. And you got to remember, like, the thing about Dusty Springfield at that era is she was like a Britney Spears kind of just post her biggest hits. That's who she was, even though she was singing soul music and all the rest of it. But I think, the Adele comparison is super important because there is clearly something in the English, personality, musical archetype or whatever that that will come up again and again. And Adele is probably doing Dusty Springfield more successfully because, her mental health is better. She's not, having to deal with the horrible persecutions of being gay in the late 60s, so yeah, she's hopefully going to live a longer and happier life than Dusty did.
Yeah, absolutely.
wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
All right. Shall we get into the segments?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let us do it. Let's do the first one. An old classic. Old Faithful, Get Inked.
Get inked.
All right, Kav, we're going to be making some tattoo designs from like the lyrics or like song names or something with these albums. And then you have two options. You can either pick one of these shocking tattoos that you would hypothetically get inked on your body, or you can wing one and make one up yourself. I'll go first. Mine are both from just song names this week. Kept it relatively simple. So from the Dusty album, the song name In the Land of Make Believe. So I'm just thinking the characters of The Wizard of Oz, but Dusty Springfield is Dorothy. So just like get that. More of like again, more of a painting than a tattoo.
I like it.
They often are. Yeah.
And then another TV/movie reference. This is a bit more niche. We'll see if anyone actually gets it. But from the Spoon album, the song named Jonathan Fisk. I've been watching Daredevil, the Marvel show on Netflix, and then he's also in Hawkeye. But the character's name is Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin. So I'm just thinking Kingpin is a huge dude with big white suit holding just like two spoons. That's it.
I love that because like one nerd in the world will be like,
exactly.
"Oh my god!"
Yeah,
That's what all our tats are like.
the one,
Kind of fits because that song's about a bully as well.
Yeah.
That's about a bully he had as a kid. So kind of, I guess Kingpin's just a bully. When it comes down to it.
Yeah, it's very like the handful of people in the world. Actually, no, the zero people that both listen to this podcast and know who Spoon and Kingpin are. Yeah, so
And get
that'd be a good one. Yeah, and get tattoos. Adam, what are yours?
Mine for Dusty The Windmills of Your Mind, again, just from the title, but I thought like maybe a shaved head tat of just like a windmill that goes like just the head of a windmill around your head. But also, maybe not, because I was thinking that could kind of look like a swastika maybe. If it was angled. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to leave it there, but I don't advise against. I advise against it. Don't get that if you're listening. And then my one for Spoon, from the track Back to the Life. The line is, "Son, you must go back to the life. Go pack up your bags. Take up your scythe, because the world wasn't meant for both of us." And when I heard that, just because of scythe, I thought like a Grim Reaper, and they're going back home from wherever they are. So maybe like a Grim Reaper dad and his son, and they've got like holiday shirts on maybe, and they've got their bags waiting for the taxi with their scythes next to them. Could be kind of cute.
That's nice.
Nice, Adam.
What are yours? Brandon?
I've got from the Dusty album, from Breakfast in Bed. I kind of thought, is Betty Boop, is she like, that's early the 60s, eh? She's like the 30s. Yeah, well, this kind of doesn't work then. I was going to have Betty Boop with like a tray of breakfast, and it says breakfast in bed, in a little, tight little dress or whatever. And Kill the Moonlight, just the album name. Just like, I don't know, people who have seen the regular show may know this guy named Pops. Yeah. He's like a big moon-looking dude with a really small face. And like, I'm thinking him just like, he has really, really skinny arms and legs as well. I'm just him with like a knife kind of smiling. So I don't know. He looks like a big moon, so it's like a really angry moon.
And he's about to kill you.
I love it. I had similar ideas to all of your guys' ideas. One of the windmills in my mind was the first one I thought of, which is but it'd be a kind of like a contemplative like head, but like then it turns into a dream windmill kind of mind thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then if you're sticking with Dusty in Memphis, you could go from the song Just a Little Lovin'. You could just have a cup, because the sign is the line is just a little loving beats a cup of coffee for starting off the day. So you could have just like a tattoo of a coffee cup, and then just a little lovin', and then people maybe that is like coffee. You're like, no, it's actually a Dusty in Memphis.
Really?
Yeah.
And then I guess for Spoon, you could do in the first song, Small Change, there's a reference to Hamar Superstar. You know that artist. He's like, I don't do the blah, but I go for Hamar. So maybe you could have like some loose change with just Hamar Superstar's face coming out of it.
They're really good.
I like it.
Yeah, we should have. I should have prefaced it by saying ours are always shit. So yeah, yours.
We need to let people know that, because I think they come on and then they're always better than ours. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's
good.
That's good.
That's what we need. Yeah, because ours are never going to be better than what they are.
Never going to be
good. Yeah. No, they were heaps good. I like them actually. They were very nice. All right, let's do the ad. This segment's nice and simple, Kav. What are your top songs from each album? One from each. If you had to choose, gun to your head, top songs.
Shit. Well, I would have to say, oh God, that's really hard. Okay, Just a Little Lovin' off Dusty Memphis, just because the chord progression is so ridiculous. And I think Carole King and Jerry Goffin are, some of the best songwriters of all time. So I'll give them the Guernsey for that one. And then I guess, fucking hell, it's really hard. When you have albums that you love, it's really hard to go back to. You know what? I'm going to go with Paper Tiger from Kill the Moonlight, just because, it's just, there's something kind of really interesting and lo-fi. It could have been recorded in a good recording studio or a 4-track recorder. It doesn't matter, because it's just vibey and cool, and there's a bit more of a sensitivity to it, which I enjoy as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one of those songs where it's super simple and you don't realize that it's like 3 minutes long. It just kind of
it's also got this like there's a lot. I know, so I'm going back into the bloody nerdiness of the record. There's all this cool stuff he does. They do with like a delay, like obviously just a guitar delay pedal. It's going, and it's kind of like panning across the speakers. Oh, I love that shit. Anyway,
Yeah. I was probably also going to say Just a Little Alarming, but I might say Breakfast in Bed, the one you spoke about earlier.
we love that song.
The way that song kind of builds is really interesting, and just sounds like it brings in a lot of the elements of the whole album into that one song, which is really cool. And then I'm actually going to pick Someone Something. The song you said sounds like, that Tame Impala got a little bit from. That song's sick. It's like eerie, but really well structured as well. I actually really love like this entire album. Hey, the keys on the album, but the keys on that song especially as well. I'm mad. What are yours, Adam?
Hard pick.
Mine for Spoon, I'm going to go with Jonathan Fisk, I think. I just really love the tension, and I really liked reading about the story behind it as well. On Genius, shout outs. We haven't forced them to give us a sponsorship in a while.
No, we
Hurry
should.
up.
Sponsor us, you dogs.
Yeah, about their childhood bully that then became a fan and went to like every one of their shows and followed them around the country. I just think that's really funny. But it's also, there's just a heap of tension all the way through it, like the rest of the album does. And yeah, it's really good. And then for Dusty, what did I have for Dusty? I had Don't Forget About Me. That song, the chorus on that track just explodes, I think. All the massive harmonies and stuff. It's just quite like euphoric, and definitely has that like sultry verse where she's a lot softer. But yeah, when it builds and she really lets loose, it's crazy. Love it.
Nice.
What are yours, Brad?
From the Spoon album, I really like the last song. I don't really know how to say it. Vittorio E.
Yeah, I think so.
Bit trio.
Yeah, a beautiful quiet little finish to it. Almost sounded like a little bit emo.
Yeah.
And with like the room mic sort of vocals on it. I was a big fan of that. Sounded like that one Oso Oso song.
Yeah.
Off the first album.
Sounds a bit Radiohead also.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And the Dusty album, I so much love the second track. That just reminded me of an Adele song. It was beautiful. And yeah, once again, just that, the vocal delivery, even after hearing those stories of how she struggled, it's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
That proves how good she was.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah.
Pretty good song.
How also great records are always made on a knife edge, like they just don't come out, and then they do.
It reminds me of, what's that Kanye album? What was the album where he broke his jaw? And then he went in
the first one.
Was it? And he just sounds so angry in parts. And that's just like, little inconveniences like that often.
Yeah, it was on College Dropout.
Yeah.
Is it? What's the song? It's called like My Teeth Are Closed.
Anyway.
We'll get back to it.
But right. I think that always helps. Makes it more interesting.
Yeah, real life.
Mad. All right, pretty good songs. Gonna chuck them in the playlist. The record or our ads on Spotify. How many songs are in there now? 480 songs. You're chasing 30 hours of music, so you got a big.
It's a car ride.
Yeah, big road trip.
Really big road trip. Yeah.
Yeah, Melbourne and back 3 times. All right, Matt. Let's do. It's back. How good is it to have it back? Spocks and Spacks.
Everyone on your buzzers. Let's play
Spocks and Spacks.
All right, this is the segment we mentioned before, Kav, that'll be pretty interesting because we were actually thinking... So this segment, I'll explain what it is first. It's called Spocks and Spacks because of the segment from Spicks and Specs where you have to sing a song using different words. We just stole the segment, essentially. Did you ever do that segment on the actual show?
Yeah, I did.
That is hectic.
It was really hideous. I can't remember what it was, but it was like I think it's because I was doing it. As far as I remember, I think I was doing it with Josh Pike and I'm having a total mental blank, and from Something for Kate, who's also
Paul Dempsey.
Yeah.
Paul Dempsey, who's also a good friend, who I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now. But both Josh and Paul are like pitch perfect, and I'm like, like I'm all over the place. It was pretty intimidating. I think, Josh will tell you, don't ever get Kav to sing harmonies on your record. It's a bad idea. we were kind of harmonizing, doing something, and those guys are doing a great job, and I was like, great.
Yeah, so
Very
we thought that might have been the case. So you'll be the first, and I'm pretty confident in saying you'll be the last person who will come on this show and do Spox and Spax, who've also done the actual segment from the show.
Wow.
So this
Right.
is
Pretty impressive.
pretty cool. So yeah, Brad, I think Brad's up this week. He's going to be
I'm
singing.
singing.
The
Yeah.
first 2 songs he'll sing will be songs from these albums, and then we just have to guess the song. The third song will just be another song that hopefully we all know. But we need buzzers. So my buzzer will be... what's an Austin Powers quote I can use? Vanessa! That'll do. So Cav, what would you like your buzzer to be? Nice.
Sounds good.
Nice.
I'll go with Butter Bean.
All right, cool.
Being-
Yeah, so if you know, buzz in, and Brad can let us know. What are you reading from, though? Singing
I'm
from?
reading from 1001 Albums You Must Listen to Before You Die.
Ooh, it's good to have that back in the mix.
Dusty In Memphis is in here. Spoon is not.
Oh,
Yeah,
what the
right.
hell?
So I will be singing from the actual Dusty In Memphis. But the first song, I'll be singing from Jay-Z, The Blueprint, 2001.
Cool.
Brilliant.
So, my heart is racing. I'm super nervous. It's really hard. This is fun. All right. Sure. I'll have a quick listen to the song.
Don't panic, Brad. It's all right, mate.
Are we good?
We panic about this every week.
Yeah.
I know, and then we usually get it pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
we're all
So
good.
funny.
Okay, so from one of the 2 albums. Released on September 11th. Blueprint was
How we get by.
Yeah, I had to do an easy one to start off.
Yeah.
I had to get the one out of the way. Okay, second song. That was too easy.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, it's good.
Here we go. The writing was on the wall. 1968. Pop had turned into rock and solo vocalists. Were finding hard to come by.
Oh,
Dusty was no exception. Her last
Vanessa?
significant hit. Oh, that was awful.
Is it just a little loving?
It was.
Yeah.
That was disgraceful.
That was
no, it was good. I was looking through the song list. I couldn't figure out which one.
I'm
but-
buying the auto tune after that. That was not. I'm buying it.
Oh, that's so
This
funny.
last one's a laugh. So
Yeah, so this one, Cav, is from
Something
It'll
we've
be-
already done.
yes, an album that we've done on the pod before, but I'm assuming Brad's kept it. So
yeah,
he
I might do
should
it
know.
to music with this one because it's a bop.
all right. It's a bop. All right, it's a good hint.
Here we go. Yeah. Ass blues and guitar solos. Lyrics that tackle whoa and wow. Spacey title issued in 1973.
Faith No More. Oh no,
I'll give
no,
you clues.
back before time, it was a win.
Oh no! Oh,
Is it that song?
It's not. We have not done Faith No
Vanessa.
More. Yeah.
It's Midnight Oil.
It is.
Midnight
Oh,
Oil. Is it
bugger.
Beds Are Burning?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
That did sound like Faith No More, though.
Yeah, it
I
did.
don't think I've ever realised. Maybe there is a correlation between Midnight Oil and Faith No
Fuck,
More.
I didn't even get to the good bit. Oh, thank you. Well, no. Well, that was awful by me. So thank you
great.
for saving me.
Hey, don't worry
Thanks,
about it, mate.
Wow. So did everyone get one? Or did Tony
Nah,
get two?
I didn't get one.
I bagged a couple.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Good work,
Well
mate.
done. Oh, jeez, lads.
Well done, Brad. Hey, don't now. Guess what? You don't have to do that for another 3 weeks.
Yeah,
Hell
good
yeah.
on ya.
Yeah. Well
Thanks.
done. Well done. And well done to me
Thanks for tuning in.
winning.
Yeah.
I'm keen for you to drop $50 on the auto tune so you can chuck it on.
Yeah.
Smash it.
No, I'll work my magic. I'll just torrent on.
Yeah, sounds
Just
good.
steal
All right, we got one more segment. Let's pump it out. 2 truths and a lie. Alrighty. Adam's
I'm
up
up.
this week.
Yep.
Cav, Adam's going to say 3 statements about these artists. 2 are true, 1's a lie. We got to figure out the lie. Adam, what do you got for
Alright,
us?
So they're all about Dusty. So first one, Dusty Springfield, along with a group of friends, trashed Elton John's pool with food scraps and furniture while she was living there for a brief period.
I'm going to say true.
Well, wait till you hear the other ones first. Dusty Springfield reportedly poured a bucket of black paint all over her partner Norma Tenga's car after a dispute whilst the pair were moving house.
Oh my god.
Dusty Springfield used to prank her band frequently, pouring bags of flour on them and ordering boxes of plates and bowls to then just smash against the wall while it's in rehearsal.
Wow. I'm going to say the last one is not true.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking that or the Elton John one. When I was reading about this album, I read something that Elton John had said, not like a bad thing. He said she was like one of the best singers of all time. So maybe you read that too, and you got the idea for Elton John.
The hard thing is like the eras don't exactly match up.
Yeah,
I came in the early 70s, so but then there could have been a crossover. She could have, and he wouldn't have been that rich in that time. So,
It was later on. It was much later on for Dusty.
Still alive.
How much later on? Do you know?
No.
you got a year for us?
No, I don't have a year.
No years.
Right.
What was the second one? Talking about black paint on a car.
Yeah, she poured a bucket of black paint all over her partner Norma Tenga's car after a dispute while
You know
they
what
were
type of
moving
car?
house.
What type of car?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
You don't know much, do you?
No.
Let's go. I'm pretty sold on the Elton John one, I think.
Yeah, same. What's the last one though? Heaps quick again.
She used to prank her band frequently, pouring bags of flour on them and ordering boxes of plates and bowls to then just smash against the wall.
That's so dog.
That's just awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I reckon.
Maybe that's the
I'm hoping that's a lie.
I'll go the Elton John one.
Okay.
Kav, you're going the flower one, the bandmates one.
Yeah.
All right, I'll just go number 2 then. So
Alright.
the spirit of
So-
competition, as we say.
Dusty Springfield, along with a few friends, did trash Elton John's pool with
Rats.
food scraps. Apparently, they were at a party, and there was like heaps of chicken bones, and they started throwing chicken bones in there. And then there was furniture in there, and then apparently the next, I think she was staying with him, for some reason in like the 80s, and she had an interview, and she was sitting by the pool, and the person who came to interview her saw the debris, and that's how the story got out, because she like asked her about it and she was just acting like it was nothing and the pool was just destroyed. And then second one, Dusty Springfield didn't pour a bucket of black paint. I made that one up.
Whoa.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, she did used to prank her band frequently, pouring bags of flour on them
That's not funny.
and
That's-
ordering boxes of plates, which is crazy. And starting food fights as well. She used to start food fights in restaurants. She's a bit of a lunatic, really. Like the pranks.
Insane.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Kind of like The Who. She was kind of like Keith Moon of her time.
And she had more in common with Led Zeppelin than we thought.
Way more than we thought, yeah. She's the
The music
original
suggests. Yeah.
rock star, anyway.
Hell yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well done.
Another
Good prank,
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
another win for myself. That's nice.
I
That's
haven't
nice.
won one so long.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a winner.
We need to get
Alright.
a tally going, really.
Yeah, we
Let's
do.
do it.
Oh, we've said that for like
A year.
2 years.
Yeah.
So long. All right, let's. We got one more thing left to do. We got to rate these albums out of 10, but we don't just give them out of 10. We got to give them out of 10 something. Maybe 10 freaking bags of flour for Dusty Springfield.
Yeah, bags
Yeah.
of flour, yep.
And then what about for Spoon?
Forks.
Yeah.
Spoons, I would say.
Fox is good. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Kav, we give them out of 10. We don't do decimals. And guess what? If these are your favorite albums, you can give them 10 out of 10s.
Yeah.
So, but we'll go around. We'll do Dusty Springfield, Dusty Memphis first. What are you giving it out of 10?
10.
Boom.
Boom.
Beautiful.
Simple
Perfect.
as that. Are these two like your two favorite albums ever, or like two of?
They're definitely up there. Yeah, they'd be in the top 10.
Yeah, mad. I'm gonna go. Oh, I don't know actually. Like I love how like just the sound of this album, and it is what, over 50 years old, or over 60 years old. No, 60? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 50. Over 50 years old, and it's just like it's still. Honestly, it sounds like fresh, and it sounds good. It doesn't sound like an out of date record, and everything on it is so clean. But if I'm comparing it to Kill the Moonlight, I think I'm gonna have to go a 7. 7 bags of flour for me. Yeah, 7 bags of flour. What about you, Adam?
I'm going to go an 8 for this one. I do love the experience. It's so grand, and we don't have many albums like that on here. My only thing, I just don't connect with a lot of the lyrics or anything, the stories, because obviously maybe it's just not creating that same emotional response in me. But the performance is incredible, and I do really love that. But yeah, I'll give it an 8 for that, I would say.
Cool.
Bradley?
I'm going to go 8 bags of flour as well. Yeah, I think there's a few albums that every now and again you just get to by chance or deliberately listen to, and this is definitely one of those albums in the 60s that you're just like, wow, I never knew this existed, and I'm very glad that I got the chance to listen to it, because it's
welcome.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just a different world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I love all of that. And once again, the performances were beautiful. I think the drums were absolutely perfect. And that's way more impressive than some powered drummer fucking smashing the shit out of the drums. It's precision, pinpoint, surgical almost. Everything's so surgical about this from a musicality and production side. So yeah, 8.
Cool. All right, let's do Kill the Moonlight out of 10. Forks and spoons, cutlery, Kav.
Cutlery sets.
Cutlery sets.
10 spoons.
Bang.
10 spoons again.
Love to hear it. I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go 9. I really love this. Hey, it sounded so especially to what I listened to. It was just really refreshing to not hear really loud drumming all the time, and just everything was so thought out. And as I said, I would get through 3/4 of the album and be like, oh, what? Where's this time gone? It's just such a good listen, and just really, really interesting, sonically as well. And then the vocals.
Have you discovered much of Spoon's back catalogue at all?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I've listened to this album.
I would say, if in Tears of Awesomeness, have a listen to the record after this one as well, called Gimme Fiction, which is fantastic. And then a more recent record. God, hold on! I just got to put my Spotify and find this out. This is important. This is important information. So a more recent record, which is, I reckon, pretty up there with, I would say, being almost as good as Kill the Moonlight. Whoops! I just accidentally clicked on SpongeBob instead of Spoon.
Very similar.
Similar artists, hard hitting issues to. So They Want My Soul is quite a recent record, and it's also a really amazing record. So yeah, Gimme Fiction and They Want Your Soul are both worth checking out.
Okay, heck, cool. I definitely will.
Yeah.
Adam, what are you giving it?
I can't split them. I'm going to go an 8 for this one as well. I think, I loved this week. I thought it was it had very different sort of a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities as well. I think this one, it's not as much drama as the Dusty one, but there's just the friction all the way through it. You just feel like it is going to explode at some point. It's kind of nice to just do a rock record as well. We don't often do just rock. We're always doing punk, or it's always got some sort of other edge, whereas this is just solid songwriting, sort of more traditional songwriting, I would say. I'll go an 8. Really, really enjoyed it.
Cool. Bradley, bring it home.
I don't really know. I don't really know what score to give it. I don't have much of a connection with this, the early 2000s, the turn of the century sort of stuff. So this has been really it's kind of odd and strange. I really enjoyed it. I really want to start. I think I haven't listened much to White Stripes or even that much Radiohead. So this kind of got me thinking about those bands, and even Coldplay as well. We did do Coldplay. We've done 2 Coldplay records on this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And this is, I can see some parallels with that as well. Just super strong. You said well orchestrated songwriting, and I think that's what stands out from those artists. And
not relying on
this is just another one of those which are really
For me, one of the
really kind of interesting.
behind picking these 2 records, and probably behind anything that I consider like a 10 out of 10 kind of record is I think you should be able to pick up a guitar or a piano and play any of the songs and know exactly what song you're playing. I think that's definitely the case in Dusty In Memphis. It's like they are classically written songs. But I think the same thing can be said about Kill The Moonlight. You know, like when I first heard this record, the first thing I did was picked up an acoustic guitar and tried to work out a bunch of the songs because I just wanted to experience playing them because I thought they were great. And they still sounded like the songs, you know. You don't have to use your imagination too much.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
Brad, did you give it a number?
No, I didn't.
Hurry up, mate.
Sorry,
Come on, buddy.
I'm like, if I'd give it a 7.5, I probably would, but I'll go an 8. I'll bump it up.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
So we got a
Nice.
1 point difference then?
Now we got 2 point difference. Dusty Springfield, Dusty in Memphis got 33 out of 40 bags of flour, and then Spoon 35 out of 40.
Wow.
Kill
Some high
Moonlight
scores.
gets the win. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good because everyone who's come on the past few weeks, including yourself, Kav, just brought on like their favorite albums, and they're giving them 10s, and it's awesome. Exactly what I want.
Yeah,
Good
They're
album.
good
Yeah.
albums. You don't have to. Wait till we have one ourselves and we just do some terrible albums.
Yeah.
I'd say,
Probably do.
have you guys ever had someone come on and you guys have just been like, yeah, this is just a shit record, so I'm going to...
Not straight to their face, but there's been times where we've given lower scores and I don't think they expected them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've
Like,
given a
few
couple
times.
like 6s and 7s that even could have been like 4s and 5s.
Yeah.
As well.
yeah.
That's definitely not the
Unfortunately.
case this week. Or
We had
last
two
week,
nice.
actually.
Yeah. Oh
Actually
no,
amazing
this whole
records.
season we've been blessed with great music so far.
Sometimes when they bring on newer stuff that's, don't want to dox anyone. Let's not.
Think on Kelly.
What's
Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly. That was a terrible album.
interesting about what you guys are doing is that, music is such a subjective experience, you know.
Yeah.
Good, if it sounds good to you, then it's good in your ears. But then, there is what I think, people who get into music in a deeper level will be able to appreciate is a classic album or a great record. And I almost feel jealous, Brad, that you haven't discovered Radiohead or some of the White Stripes records, or there's some amazing music that you're going to be able to get into. I'm jealous of that you're going to hear it for the first time. So,
That's great.
but some of those records that aren't great records but have good songs on them. And some of them are, OK Computer or whatever is just undeniably a great record, whether subjectively it does anything for you or not.
Have you listened to The Smile yet, Kav?
Yeah, I heard the first track and I thought it was okay. But now they've released a bunch of songs. I'll probably go back in. I mean,
I was the same.
Radiohead are kind of like one of those artists like Beck for me. I mean, I could have picked a Beck record for this thing because I'm such a huge Beck fan as well. But they're both, Radiohead and Beck, one of those kind of artists that, I always love what they do, but I might not be paying attention at the time. And then every once in a while, I'll kind of just forget about them. And then they'll put out a record and I'll be like, this is amazing. And
that's the best ones, I think. It's like a long distance friend. You see every now and then.
With Radiohead, for instance, I think I'd stopped paying attention to them for a few years, and then they put out In Rainbows.
Amazing
And I was
album,
just like, I bought that on record. I mean, if you get into that record, Brad, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go on a Radiohead bender, then check out. They do that because the guy who recorded a bunch of the Beck records, as well. I'm having total mental blanks of everyone's names today.
Right.
But the guy who produced a bunch of the Beck records as well as like all of the Radiohead records, he's an amazing producer, more of an engineer. But he had a show called Live at the Basement, I think they were calling it, or Basement.
Right.
Anyway, there's a bunch of really amazing music to check out, but probably the best is them playing In Rainbows from start to finish.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
It's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Christ. Yeah, such a great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like I'll start there because we do have it on in a couple of weeks as well, don't we?
Oh, do you?
We
Okay,
sure
great.
do.
Yeah.
It's coming on
Yeah.
2 weeks.
It's a beauty, and if you want to deep dive into it, I think In Rainbows, that basement session is like, sometimes you do the live stuff and you're like, it's pretty good, I guess, but I like the record better. That basement session is arguably as good as the record. They're just a ridiculous band, ridiculous. But yeah, with the Smile stuff, I look forward to kind of delving deep into it. But it's one of those that might be
punky.
Yeah, it is. They're trying to prove that they're still rock and roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it might one of those things that I'm ready to jump into, or it might not appeal to me at this point in time. I don't know. You know,
I don't know if it's. I haven't actually just listened to the audio, but I watched the video because they just did a couple live videos of it, and just watching Tom just go absolutely mental, and he's playing bass as well. He played bass during. So doing like crazy bass lines, and then
as someone who plays bass and sings at the same time, it's a terrible idea. I don't recommend.
Yeah. Well, he does it. It seems very effortless. Well, I mean, the music's quite like all over the place, so he could just be improvising. I don't know, but he's going crazy and then just wailing like a banshee. It's so good.
Like a mini guitar. He's got like a 3/4 like one of those little Fender music basses, and he's like playing it up the neck like pretty much like a guitar.
Yeah. No, it's great though. Very emotive to performance if you're chasing.
I probably got to go because I need to go make a video clip. So
We'll let you go. Well, thanks so much for coming on, man. We really appreciate it. It was very fun to have these albums on as well.
Thanks so much.
Cool, and I'm so
Wealth
glad
of knowledge
to turn you guys onto some great music.
Yeah,
It's been
Appreciate
great.
it. All right, heaps quick. Next week on the show, we have Sydney artist Chelsea Warner coming on for another Tyler the Creator album. I think it's the third one. We're doing Flower Boy against Swimming by Mac Miller. That's going to be really fun. I'm heaps keen to
Haven't
do
had
that.
hip hop in a while. That'll be good.
No, we haven't. All right, follow us on the socials at Record Royale and all that good shit on the Instagram. You can buy a tote from recordroyale.com.au. That's pretty much it. We'll see you next week with Chelsea. Kav, thank you so much.